Hello and good evening. Time is 7:10 p.m. You're listening to Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Kobe Spiky Nkrumah and the show is Geek Squad. Geek Squad is a show that brings technology closer to you. We break it down, make it simpler, and basically we demystify all that tech stuff that you hear in town and you're like, ish. Yeah, we make it simple. Anyways, Geek Squad is brought to you by Nokia. Get the new Nokia smartphones now with pure, secure, and the latest Android. And let's unite for fun. We'll be right back.
Hey, your phone they be wow. It's be Nokia. Where be Android too?
Of course. You know I don't just use any phone. I use only Nokia phones. Trust Nokia for the best of phones. Nokia is now back on Android. In case you didn't know, all features of Android is now on your Nokia phone. Wake ready, a smartphone na Mikita no. Try the Nokia 5.1 or 5.1 Plus, or the Nokia 6.1 Plus, or the Nokia 7 Plus, or the Nokia 8 or 8.1. I can go on and on and on. You can't go wrong with a Nokia phone.
Wow, still the battery they tell like the way it did, huh?
But you still they talk about just battery. Try our cameras, or even the storage space. Big brutal. The phones are just quality. And trust us, for warranty, no fake phones, Just bring your old Nokia phones for new Nokia phones. With something small pay, you get a new Nokia phone. Call us on 0265 625 581.
And we're back. So last week we were talking about something that has become prevalent in our society lately, and that is cell phone addiction. So all those cell phones allow us to have unlimited access to information and to connect with others the way previously was impossible. There are now many harmful and disturbing effects of smartphone dependence. Cell phone addiction, which some people like to refer to, has basically caused so many behavioral changes in people. It's been likened to internet gambling, shopping, video game addiction, and it leads to severe impairment or distress in people's lives. So today we'll be going deeper into the conversation. Last week we just brushed because we didn't have enough time. And to do this, I have with me Maximus Ametogo. Maximus, how do I address you?
I'm a tech addict and an analyst at the same time. So
an internet citizen.
Yes.
And we have our two geeks, Michael, who's in early today.
Yeah, wonders never cease, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you a very good evening.
And Winston Woche.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, the photographer.
Yeah. Same freelance.
We'll be joined by Nino Tedwa, who's a clinical psychologist. He will be giving us the psychological insight to the discussion. So it's a very, very simple issue. I just mentioned a man's name and he just appeared. Good evening, Nee.
Hi, just call me Naughty.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Naughty.
I'm honored to be part of the Geek SWAT.
The Geek Squad.
SWAT.
Squad. A SWAT's no bad.
Geek SWAT really isn't bad.
At all.
Thank you.
There's been a study conducted by Baylor University in relation to cell phone addiction, and they linked it to impulsiveness and materialism, a preoccupation with material objects as opposed to intellectual, spiritual, and cultural values. They also said the obsessive use of a smartphone can be compared to that of credit card misuse and compulsive buying. Cell phones have become a representation of social status, and thus there is pressure to own the newest release and to have all of the best applications. People suffering from this condition oftentimes have what has been coined nomophobia, or the fear of being without one's cell phone. Problematic cell phone users can also develop a social media addiction as well, and it has a number of harmful effects as impaired self-esteem, impaired work performance, and interpersonal conflicts. Now, I'm going straight to you, Naughty, because this is right in your realm. Is this something that, like some people like to call white people's problems? Because anytime we hear some of these conditions, we tend to think that, oh, black people don't suffer from this. It's all white people. White people are only people that can get dependent on a device or something, addicted to something that black people don't suffer from. Is this something that we should be worried about?
Yeah, I think we should be worried about it. And thanks for inviting me. I mean, if you're talking about human problems, that's essentially what they are, human problems, right? So a white man can gamble, a black man can gamble. A white man can beat up on his wife or his partner, vice versa, so can a black man. You can be substance entangled, if I use that phrase, right? And it doesn't matter whether you're a pope, you're black, white, whatever. So, yes, the description of the problem, right, cuts across, okay? And to the extent that we have access to these gadgets and these facilities and the things they hook up us up to, then yes, we are vulnerable. Okay, and any classification system really, if we're talking about depression, you might get a different presentation. Okay, for example, if I'm talking about depression, because of the way our socialization and our culture is, you probably might not wake up as a black person or an African and say, I'm feeling sad or blue. People say, what is blue? Right? But you might express your emotional distress in more physical or somatic terms. Okay? People say, I feel a warm burning sensation in my head. It moves here, here, here. And they relate to very much the same thing. So you may want to pick it out slightly differently, but definitely the problem is relevant in our parts of the world. Okay? And you described it. Okay? And as soon as we're talking of something being a problem, we're saying it's crossed the boundaries and the realms of normal, regular usage. So if I have a substance use problem, right, it means my usage of the substance has now crossed into certain realms and meets certain criteria. If I have a problem with my mobile phone, my usage of this gadget, which is an instrument, a tool, has crossed certain boundaries. For example, I was communicating with you because I just left the meeting and I said, I'm on my way. Right? You can use social media, but you can use it in circumstances that are dangerous and hazardous.
Right.
So you can WhatsApp, but if you're WhatsApping and driving, right, and that practice is compulsive, beyond your control, then we're looking at a maladaptive usage. Okay? So I always talk of the 3 C's, right? Compulsive use, which means it's driven. You are forced, compelled to. You say, I will not go on WhatsApp. I will not go on this page, but you're there, right? Okay? The Chinese say when it comes to substance use, first the man takes the bottle and then the bottle takes the man, right? In this case, the gadget has taken you. So compulsion. Then there's the second C, which is loss of control. I'm not in charge anymore. Okay? You may drink because you wanted to drink, and now you drink because you have to drink, right? Different profile. And then the last C is negative consequences. Okay? So if you look at these things, for any habit we are talking about, if it has these 3 C's, you've lost control, you are driven to do it, and there are clear, if you're honest with yourself, negative consequences. It could be the money you spend on data. It could be the exam you didn't write or prepare for. So we can look at it in this way, and it definitely qualifies to be a problem of relevance.
Now, that is a whole lot of insights. So, based on which I'm going to ask all 3 of you again, do you consider yourself... Because from what Note has said, I think I'm on the verge of being addicted to myself. Because I have that compulsive urge to carry it.
Spiky, just before they confess, let me add another aspect. Right. You see, when you are dependent or you have a problem such as I just described, one of the key features we look for is your own subjective efforts to control it. If you've ever asked yourself, Charlie G, MTN takes so much of my money a week. I will now restrict myself to 5 Ghana cedis data or airtime a week. And you find it doesn't work. We look out for unsuccessful efforts at self-regulation or the desire to self-regulate. Charlie, I've stopped smoking. Oh, the beer I stop. If you have truly stopped and you are in charge, you will never argue with your friends or, oh, by you, I say I stop. Oh. Right? Why are you arguing with me? It would be self-evident.
Yeah.
So before they actually self-diagnose, they should add this to it. Have I had cause to actually do this analysis and say, hey, Charlie, it's too much? And I try to check it or regulate it, restrict it, and it beat the pot in which the plant stood, right? It now has crept outside that. It's a good way of checking yourself if you're listening to us.
Right. So,
I'm not addicted.
Well, I just found my out because it's actually a question I want to ask. Is something you can use to measure how deep you're in? If you, like you said, the 3 C's. Do you need to fulfill all 3 of the C's at the same in order to start falling under the category of maybe you've gone in too far, or it's simply
Each one is 33.13.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We use them to help people understand and properly profile the problem. Sometimes people ask, well, how much alcohol is too much? And so on and so on. Oh, Charlie, I take this much and I'm fine. I drive home every night. Okay? So there's this element of denial and rationalization. It's not a big deal. Oh, I went to this porn site, but really, I just went to peep. Okay? Right?
Yeah.
So how much of peeping is maladaptive or dysfunctional?
Yeah.
So very often you get these kinds of questions. And I tend to say to people with some of these impulse control issues is that once you get a flag, right, it's time to start taking action. I tell my students sometimes that, you know what, this thing you do when you go back to the hostel because you don't have your phone, it's not a lung, it's not a liver, it's not your heart, but you feel inadequate and incomplete without it. And it's not the gadget itself, it's what it connects you to.
Exactly.
Do you see? Yeah. So we must look at it. And the ease with which you can belong and you can have access and you can do all these things is designed to entrap you. You see? It's designed to entrap you. So, yes, you might see one of them and say, well, not to mention 2, I'm okay. Right? You see? Right?
Yeah.
It's like the ganja telling you that, oh, you go and you come back.
One. Yes.
I have promises and riches that you know about, and people are deceiving you to dog me, to leave me. So once you have some of the telltale indicators, I would say be wary and start looking at how, I'm sure this program will get into tips and how to check some of these things. So yes, you might not have the full constellation of it, but definitely you are already on a subjective level starting to think, hey, this is a bit much. Before your friend says, is that your second bottle? Right? You already know that there's an issue.
Yeah.
And I think just to add to that, you see, sometimes the wrong usage or timing of using the device, because you can say, okay, I'm going to just send a 30-second text message, or I'm just picking the phone, I'm in traffic, so let me just pick the phone and just do a quick call. Before you realize you hit somebody or somebody hits you at the back. Very short time. So sometimes it's not about the duration of usage. Just the wrong timing of usage can also result in some consequences.
Michael, you seem very lost in thought.
No, I'm thinking about that, like, how deep has it gotten when I'm like, oh, I really can't.
He's torn between testimony and confession.
So which one is it going to be? T or C?
I'm actually kind of fine, actually. Cause, when was it? Actually, this morning.
Yeah.
Got ready, got to the office. Yep, here I am, boss, ready and willing to do my duty for the Where's my laptop? Oh, yeah, it's in the house. So, yeah.
And you managed to go through the day without it?
Yeah, I didn't, because I needed a laptop for work. Well, clearly, if it was because it's for work, I can't not work with a laptop. But I was like, well, if I left my phone behind, I'm thinking, okay, what if I had left my phone behind instead? I wouldn't do that because I would immediately get out the gate and realized it's quiet. There's no music playing. I need to go back for that. But
so, is that a possibility, Norte, that maybe certain functions of the device could also have people addicted? Because from what Michael is saying, he's addicted to the music from his phone. He cannot move without music coming from his phone.
You see, I always say, or use this phrase, accidentally on purpose. Right? Listen, phones were phones. Kring kring is in one place, it was fixed.
Yeah.
This ugly thing, well, now we say it's ugly. You can remember when our parents used to literally cage the phone right? Get a carpenter to do a box round,
Yeah.
they lock it, and you can only receive.
Yeah, you can
Right.
dial numbers.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
And even that one, we would figure out
Oh yes.
how to beat that. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can imagine when somebody puts all that power in your hand. You don't even need a post office. You don't even need to buy a birthday card.
Yeah.
You don't even need to remember a birthday, right? These gadgets are so compulsive in their design and what they allow you to be able to do, right? You may not have acquired a passport or a visa, but you've been to the US. Somebody's showing you his house in the US, right? Or you can even acquire an accent just by, so they're so powerful and almost, how should I say it? Undroppable. You can't leave them behind. They do everything to the extent that they've rendered other aspects and other structures redundant. Do you see? You don't need a post office. You don't go here. You don't go. Even communication centers don't really matter that much if you can afford.
Do they exist?
Do they exist? Right? Okay. So let's be mindful that yes, it is what they connect us to. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I can view naked bodies using these gadgets. But my screensaver is that we needed to learn in school. Okay? Or I needed to work. Right? There was a time, let me tell you, years back, in this very station in which we sit, we had a problem with bandwidth and the slow nature of the network. And if you, even right now, I'm sure if we do an audit, the things people are downloading, right, and have set up. If your organization has slow internet or whatever, go check what people are doing. Somebody's downloading a series. And he set it up because the company has no user policy. And so check your friends in the banks and other institutions. They are barred from doing certain things on their emails and other things. So it is that vast, and it is what it connects you to that addicts you. If I liken it to substances, it's how it makes you feel. And the fact that this substance has a PIN code to your brain's circuitry for reward. It makes you feel good on impulse. Okay? So the phone does make you feel good. Right?
Yeah.
As soon as that thing is spinning and you're waiting for the latest gossip or the latest video and you don't have airtime. Remember how we felt when they said, oh, WhatsApp will start charging you? Oh, hell no. No. But they are taking your money and you will top up. Do you see? The same way somebody will go to the nearest blue kiosk to top up on appeal. Right? You will top up.
You know WhatsApp used to pay for WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For iPhone users.
Yes, for iPhone users.
Wow.
And then of course we say time is money. So if they are taking your time, they are taking your money
too.
in another way.
But to add to what they said, devices, right? In the famous words of Tim Cook, I think he said this last year. He said your phone has replaced your music player.
Yeah.
Your phone has replaced your video media device. Your phone has replaced every single thing you require for your life. You can order your food from your phone.
Yep.
You can pay your bills from your phone. You can watch whatever you want. So it's like your phone is quote unquote your life.
Yeah.
It's the most portable way to get access to every single area in your life. Do you want to track your health? I mean, they have smartwatches now that can check your blood pressure and
ECG and
everything.
yeah.
It will tell you your safe period.
Yeah.
It will tell you this. It will tell you that. So this is how powerful this thing is, right? And so when we start talking of dysfunctional usage of it, we need to take it serious.
Right. So we have Makafu Nyamadi. He's a second-year PhD information system student in the Omnis Department of University of Ghana Business School. He's actually doing some research on technology addiction.
Right.
So I think he has some information he'd like to share with us. Hello, Makafu.
Hello, I can hear you.
Hi. Good evening. It's
Yeah,
evening here.
Good evening.
Is it evening where you are in America?
No, it's in the afternoon.
So then good afternoon.
11:27.
All right. So good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, my brother.
Good. So we're talking about mobile phone addiction, and you have done 2 papers. You've done lots of papers. You've presented 2 of the papers, one in Louisiana on online gaming addictions among university students in Africa, and then one in California on theorizing technology addictions.
Yes, my brother.
Yeah. So far, what have you discovered?
What we have seen is that Africa is losing out. Actually, Africa is now rated as the largest growing market for smartphones. That means that we have the devices, we have access to these devices at hand.
Right.
And these devices are beginning to have their negative consequences, as been discussed. But we are not ready as a continent to mitigate or to work on the dark side of using these devices. When you come to the U.S., you could see that a lot of people here are now being engaged into this rehabilitation and all that. But in Africa, we don't have any rehabilitation center. There's only one in South Africa currently, but we don't have any.
Okay.
But according to when we did the first research, we saw that there are people even in Ghana who are addicted to these devices, not because they want to be addicted, but they didn't even know that they're addicted. Some are using it, but they don't know that they're addicted to these devices. Example, we went to the Korle Bu Addiction Center, and the clinical psychologist told us that people who are addicted to drugs, after they have been rehabilitated, they go back to the society and they move into this we call cross addiction, where they move to online games, where they go to online gambling and the rest, and they move to cross addiction and move back to cyber security crime, and then come back to this addiction, this substance addiction stuff.
Okay.
So that's the problem.
Right. So, what exactly is happening in the States? How are they dealing with this that we are not dealing with here?
Well, currently in the States, what is happening is that, for example, when you come to Silicon Valley, the giants there are trying to train their kids to be tech-free. That means that they are trying to make sure that they don't use the technology.
Yeah, as we've noticed that some of the CEOs of the big companies have been doing.
They are no more trying to allow their kids to use the technology. But Africa, we are just prone to it. We are allowing our kids, we are allowing everybody to use the technology, and it's becoming very devastating.
So what are some of the addictions that these the youth get addicted to with regards to the technology? What are some of these addictions?
Okay, when we're talking about technology addiction, there are various forms of technology addiction.
Exactly.
We have the online gaming.
Right.
These are the multiplayer games that I worked on. And then we also have the online betting, online auctioning, compulsive buying behaviors. We have screen addiction, computer addictions. We have virtual reality addictions, smartphone addictions. Then we also have social media addictions. And this revolve around Facebook addiction, WhatsApp addiction, Twitter addiction, Instagram addiction, and so on and so forth. And you see, something is happening that is very important that we should look at.
Right.
It is estimated that by 2021, Africa is going to be recording about 929.9 million people using these smartphone devices.
Okay.
So that means that if we are not prepared as a continent to handle this menace, it's going to be very devastating. Look at it. Some countries are trying to regulate their social media usage during their work time. That is probably from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock p.m. Social media is banned. Just in order to take care of their productivity.
Right. So these are some of the ways that we can get ready for this addiction problem. What are some of the readily available methods, like some basic stuff that people can actually do from your research to help them avert these addiction problems?
We are seeing that currently there are so many apps that are online that people might begin to use to check their real-time usage on the phone. We have the off time, we have moments, we have break-free, app detox, stay on task, and so on and so forth. There are so many apps on the phone that we have to now begin to use to check our time on the phone. On the phone, because it's beginning to raise an eyebrow, and if we don't do anything, it's going to be devastating. Let's say average American uses 5 hours a day on the phone, and it's estimated that by that it means that 76 full day of the year is used on the phone.
Okay.
And that means that about 1,824 hours are used on the phone in a year. And if we don't do anything to check the number of hours we use on the phone, it's going to be very devastating.
But so for one of the situations, like, okay, so you mentioned one of the solutions to be like installing some applications that help you to track it, or some of the phones actually come with these applications to help you track your usage. But isn't that also another discipline that people have to actually check themselves?
Yes, that is one. Secondly, we should be mindful of our productivity.
Okay.
When you see that you are losing out your productive time to these devices, you must begin to question your time of usage, your amount of time of usage.
Great.
You know, anytime that you are being preoccupied, when you leave this phone, then your mind goes back. You don't want to miss out. You always want to be with the devices. Then you must begin to think about it. And these things are, we developed a model. The model tries to look at the features of the phone, of the game, which are rewarding features, inducive features of the game or the phone that are able to relate with human internal elements. Anytime that these two things are able to relate well, one or the person or the user gets into flow. And this flow, if it's not contained, sometimes with its negative consequences, then it moves to what we call addiction. So immediately you begin to relate well with this phone, you must begin to minimize your time of usage. You must begin to minimize your time of engagement with the phone, and that would also help curtail this problem. But aside that, in the Department of OMIS, University of Ghana, we are building up a team that is trying to build a research center on this menace. We want, on this note, I want to thank Professor Richard Boateng, my supervisor, the head of the OMIS department, Professor John Efa, and Mr. Megashi of Kolebu Addiction Unit, or the one in charge of Kolebu Addiction Center. We are trying to build a team that would go into research as to how best we can formulate means to help curtail or to curb this on the continent. And we also want to call on the stakeholders, being the mobile phone devices manufacturers, being the other telcos, the app developers. We want to come together to see how best we can put ourselves together to mitigate or to prevent this problem.
Great.
So anyone who is hearing me, who wants to help us, we want to play with them, with Joy FM, to come together as a body to try and see how best we can mitigate this. Otherwise, the devastating effect will be very detrimental to our continent, and especially to Ghana, because in Africa we don't have any rehab that is strictly into technology addiction stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
The only one we have is in South Africa, but in the West Africa sub-region we don't have any. So we need to build something that would help to bring like minds together so that we can mitigate this.
Right. Thank you very much, Makafui. Your input was greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. So, Note, you wanted to say?
Well, he's saying the same thing, but you see, sometimes let's cut the chase. Okay? Listen, the same way I can find the addictive ingredient in a substance, we can identify that in cell phone or smartphone usage. Okay? There's no need to go round and round and round. Now, in the same way, when you're addicted to a substance, when you don't have it, you go into withdrawal.
Yeah.
When you don't have airtime or you don't have your phone, you go into withdrawal. Withdrawal is unpleasant. Okay? Basic psychology will tell you any response, any behavior that leads to an unpleasant situation, you try to avoid.
Yeah.
Okay? So the same way that the user of alcohol will look for a place to top up, these are designed to make sure that you will top up and you will chase the gadget.
Right.
Okay? So that is what we're looking at. And so with that profile and understanding, don't forget, I mentioned earlier, it is not by chance that gambling disorder found its way into clinical terminology and diagnostic categorization. Okay? So we know this. The mechanics, the cogwheels are the same. So when you want to break the cycle, we know what to do. If you want to have a fully specialized center, well, all well and good.
Yeah.
But he mentions Amegacia, the addictive diseases unit in Korle Bu. I am in Korle Bu, and I know. And you don't just generalize across that. Though, if you go out of drug usage, you cross into this and that and that. Sometimes there are no set, clear paths that everybody will follow. But we know the mechanics, okay? It releases certain neurotransmitters when you are happy, when you're doing something you like. We know those serotonin and all those. We know all those that. But I didn't want to come on air and just, make it too technical.
Exactly.
So that's why I gave you the 3 C's. Okay? So when we want to help people, first of all, we help them identify the problem. How will I know I am addicted? Let me give you an example. And for the other panelists.
Before you get to that, let me announce the phone line so people can connect with us. If you want to send us a message, the WhatsApp line is 0244 340 437. You can send us a WhatsApp message and we will read it. I'll repeat the number, 0244 340 437. So Note, you were saying?
See, you're encouraging them to use the gadgets again. You're fueling the addiction. But listen, what I'm saying is that this is what makes you feel good. So if somebody wants to take away your cigarette and they don't want to think of what happens to you when you don't have your nicotine. That's why we have nicotine patches and so on and so forth. So you're looking at interventions that look at things in between. If I take away your phone, what are you doing which is meaningful and engaging and then cuts that time, right? And so that's how we need to be thinking. Otherwise, when you are in withdrawal, you are suffering and you want to reduce that suffering. So that is why you reload. And that is why the cell phone companies are the richest. Because here in Africa, we don't even worry about call plans. It's these days that we're getting a bit sophisticated. But your friends in the US, Canada, and other places don't use the phones the way you do because it costs them. Right? So we have the bulk of Africans on prepaid. Prepaid. Look, prepaid is for somebody who receives more than they call. Period. All right? So if you're on prepaid and you're in compulsive usage, you're just making somebody rich. Right? And so you should be on postpaid. But the marketing strategies are designed such that everybody just wants to have the gadget and to have airtime. Okay? If everybody switched, their call tariffs would be different because postpaid is for people who call and use more than they receive. Right? So already it tells you don't understand your dependence and somebody is feeding off it. They'll lead our Club 100 any day, anytime, hands down. And now they want to go into finance and banking. Okay, it's based on the same thing. The convenience can be a curse. So somebody calls it social media. Depending on where I'm talking and what I'm talking about, I might call it social murder, right? Okay. And so you need to know the dangers of it. And please let listeners understand that we're not saying they don't have positive usage. They do. We want to make sure we can identify when we've crossed from positive into destructive usage.
Yeah, and I think you see. In our setting, for example, if you have transportation, means of transportation and ease of movement, you depend less on the mobile device because if I can move around, I'll make less calls. Okay, so more human interactions. So in the US and the UK, movement, you can take a train, meet somebody somewhere, and it's easier, and it's cheaper, right? But here, you can't say you're traveling to Kumasi and back. When in other countries you can go to Kumasi and back the same day, right? So you have to be making all the cost. If you're going for a funeral in Kumasi, you have to talk to 50 people who are potential attendants of the funeral. Okay, talking to family members and the rest. So there's an infrastructure, deficit that is feeding into that particular market. They need to make more calls and use more data for interaction, and then hence the addiction to it. Because
that is why we are cellular dense on the continent.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Because you see, you will use the train and the bus and the tube or the metro outside because the system compels you. It doesn't make sense to use your own car.
Exactly.
In the same way, they use their phones less and are being compelled to use it less because of the discouraging tariffs, right? You receive a text, you'll be charged. You send it, you'll be charged. Here, they make it very cushy, and then it fuels the behavioral problem we're talking about now. So we need to be mindful of some of these traps. You see, they set a threshold where you get a message which says, your credit is low. Please load up. Now, they give you minute by minute, blow by blow. You know you are in deficit, you will buy.
Exactly.
Whether it is an umbrella or something.
And there's also a regulatory requirement that every telco must prompt you of the amount of airtime that you have in your account. Right? So it's part of the requirement.
So you know when you are going into withdrawal.
Exactly.
And then you top up.
So a message here. Hello, guys. It's very ironic that the forces or capitalists who actually design these systems and consumables to entrap us to channel our time and resource do not use them as much as we do. In fact, they make time to enjoy their lives with their family using our time and money. It's like to have time to enjoy their lives, they have to use yours.
I think
this is a very interesting statement because I feel like many of these companies have already started. With Google has the digital well-being, so you can see how long you're using your apps. You can set timers and everything. Apple also has the screen time and everything. They have seen that this is a problem, and they've started putting structures in place. But the issue is when it comes to any addiction, is you as a person.
No, self-regulation is very important.
Listen.
Self-regulation is very important. Yes.
Let me share something from our battle with tobacco. Right? Now we've outlawed tobacco. You see the visual health warnings. We fought. There are international conventions for that. Ghana is a signatory. Now come to alcohol. We are trying to fashion an alcohol policy with the alcohol company. So you hear a company saying we are doing drink IQ. In tobacco, we said we do not sit at table with the people who produce the thing. Right? So now the guys are producing it. Okay? The gadgets are getting smaller and smarter. So they'll go with you everywhere. Okay? But we are not putting in place these protective interfaces. So in tobacco, we refuse to negotiate with anybody involved in selling something which, if you follow the manufacturer's usage, you will die. That's what we say about tobacco.
Exactly.
So when we start looking at these things, like they're saying, there are interfaces and regulatory structures that make sure you protect the user. Here, we are using it in quotes raw. And so people get addicted. And let me add this, Spikey. In other parts of the world, young persons are being pushed and encouraged to commit suicide by websites.
Exactly. And
people are being radicalized by sites.
Today, a mom discovered on even YouTube Kids,
you see,
that there was a channel.
Right? So even when it comes to your
it's a different problem when it's
no, for kids.
Precisely that.
YouTube,
YouTube.
So somebody is feeding on their addiction, but we must agree it is a problem rather than say it's Obroni disease.
No.
So when you do that, now you have somebody who's been radicalized and says, I believe in ISIS or this or that. Just using a gadget. Okay? I had a kid years back who played around with cannabis. And his dad was sitting in my consulting room with him and said, where the hell did you learn how to roll a joint? And he looked at his dad and said, it's on YouTube. His dad almost chopped his head off.
It is,
right? So we need the safeguards, but we need first to identify and acknowledge it is a problem.
It is a problem.
And it needs safe usage. All right?
Doc, I want to ask.
Hold on.
Okay,
our listeners need to really join in. We're running out of time. If you want to join in the conversation, just call 0302-216-541. 0302-216-541. We've got a WhatsApp message. Love how your man Naughty has a firm grasp of the subject. Muscle. Let's shout out to you, Naughty. So
maybe I'm an addict, that's why I know.
This is not related to addiction. Nokia Android phones. Talking just got better with Nokia phones because Nokia is now on Android and has all Android features, so no need to worry. Plus, the batteries are long-lasting too. Try the latest models like the Nokia 2.1, the 3.1 Plus, the 5.1 Plus, the 6.1 Plus, and the 8.1 smartphones, which are packed with the power of the latest Android OS. And they're affordable too. What's better, you can swap your old Nokia phone for a new one by topping it up with just a little amount. Just a little. Visit any authorized Nokia phone shop to get these great deals and more. You can also call 0265-625-581 for further details. Number again is 0265-625-581. Nokia. Now, today is my friend's birthday, Wilberforce Azito. Happy birthday, Wilberforce, aka AY. And have a good one. Drink on me.
But Spikey, haven't we spoken about these issues? Okay.
So back in the day, when I was younger, which
we've got a call on the line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. When I was younger, I mean, you got a cell phone, I think, in JSS, and you never got to use it during school.
Yeah.
Period. Until vacation. You were never allowed to use your cell phone until vacation. Even vacation by 6 p.m. they take it.
You got a cell phone in GSS. Hey God, how old am I?
Wow.
The numbers to call 0302216541.
You used to queue. You used to queue on Legon campus to use
The
a
phone
payphone,
booth.
the phone booth, right?
That was
You
fun to
queue,
do.
right? And it tells you how rapidly things have changed.
Yeah.
Okay, what you saw in a spy or James Bond movie or whatever, now
It's
it's
now
in
reality.
your hands.
Mhm.
Okay, and it's doing stuff. You can clone and get your phone to control your AC, your TV,
Yeah,
your
everything.
everything.
Internet
right?
of things.
You are the geek guy, so you know. So you can't drop it,
At all.
right?
And
yeah.
before smartphone, we were addicted to text messaging
I know, right?
and even flashing.
And anyway, let me read this message. Because I'm addicted to my iPhone, I'm currently struggling with my phone charger, trying to power it for WhatsApp. Shall phone be spirits?
You are being possessed.
I
You know,
mean,
the phone has-
I kind of agree with him because my tablet's power cable broke this morning. I wasn't
really
stressed, but I was stressed for the people who are trying to reach me because everybody is like, I can't reach you when I need you. I'm like, okay.
Collateral
You
stress.
see, so the the network effect thing, the concept, where we all depend on each other to feed that addiction.
Have you noticed
Because-
the developments
We've
we're
got a caller on
having?
the line.
Yeah.
Online betting,
Hello,
everything,
Emmanuel.
right?
Yeah, hello, good evening.
Hi. Good evening, Emmanuel.
Yeah, my name is Emmanuel. I want to contribute to the program.
Sure.
Yeah, everything you're saying there is very true. Let me give you an example. I can read my Bible from my phone.
Right.
And let's say, for example, if I take the hard copy, I want to read, let's say, Timothy or Matthew. I at times find it very difficult opening the Bible. You see?
Flipping the pages.
Exactly. So I think it is very, very, very true. We need to control how we use these gadgets. Otherwise, it's going to be a big problem.
I think Notte will give us some tips on how to control this before we end the show.
Okay.
So, thank you very much for calling, Ima.
Somebody said you have become screenagers, so you're all looking on your screen and scrolling stuff. And I will recommend a book. Title is Hooked. How habit forming products are developed. So the psychology behind all these apps and stuff is the author is Near EL is EYAL, and then the Near is just NIA.
You know the
NIR. Very fantastic book. All the psychology behind how Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, and the rest are developed. Even apps are developed. Why you can't stop scrolling? You know why they hook you with it.
You probably read it on your phone.
I was just about to say,
hard copy.
I mean, how many people are gonna get access to a hard copy version of that
how
particular?
many people, first of all, are going to look? Because if you look, you will find.
Of course.
Yeah.
But no one is going to
Mikey,
look.
can I just add that alongside this, right, the actual problem we're talking about, there's a strong bridge and relationship with other, should I call them behavioral or psychological problems?
Yeah.
If you're depressed in real life, you show it on social media.
Exactly.
If you're paranoid in real life, you show it on social media.
Yeah.
And so if you are anxious or suspicious,
Second image.
slightest thing in your group, so and so left. Right? Yeah. Right? Oh, I'm glad you guys can identify. So you see, it actually magnifies, escalates your real problems. Okay? So you're online, you're using a swift gadget, a smart gadget, but it's actually amplifying if you hallucinate.
Yeah.
There are people who tell you this
the wonders you see.
this video is about me. Right?
Yeah.
This person sent me this inspirational
This
message this
statement is
morning.
about me.
It's about me.
Yeah.
So you can actually see depression, anxiety, attention deficit disorder magnified and being manifest because of the ease of use of these things. So we're not, should I say, scaring people, but these are real things. Somebody can even become more paranoid just because of phone usage. Okay?
Yeah.
And again, we shadow each other, don't we now? You're online, you haven't responded. You haven't done this, you've done this. So it makes life different.
I remember when they double checked blue checked when they came, they approved WhatsApp. So like, okay, I sent you the message, you received it. Why didn't you respond?
And you can disable it.
Yes.
Yep.
People actually say that there's actually a term that the millennials use. They say you blue ticked me.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a verb now.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I personally I'm guilty of reading messages and not replying.
So a blue ticker.
Yes, I do not see the urgency. People are attached to. I send you a message, I expect a response.
Spiky, beyond the urgency, that is why it's a personal phone. Okay, right? I do what I wish. I customize it, right?
Yeah.
So then, so now people start to take offense. Let me give you an example. In the stages of adolescence, you're very sensitive.
Yeah.
If your friends say your head is like this, it hurts so bad, right? But now on groups, young people, sensitive people, the slightest thing, and there's trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And we are magnifying these things and the potential of this kind of damage because we have these things in our hands. So you have a 15-year-old boy and his friend is outside somewhere and he's online, but he's not minding me or she's not minding me. Okay? The ease with which this is communicated to you with force.
Yeah.
Right?
With a blue color.
So if you are not emotionally ready for this kind of thing, then you start having problems. Okay, I've handled a case where a young lady went into her dad's phone. It became a thrill and a challenge to break his code, and she's broken it, and she's now aware of so many things that her dad is up to. And she has taken, at the age of, I think it was 13 or 14, a role to protect her mother from these things, but has also started indirectly blackmailing her father. Right? Just because she did this. Okay? So the potential for damage tells us we need to take these gadgets seriously and have some sense or savvy usage. Otherwise, anything can happen.
So we've talked about all these markets and everything, and some people are probably wondering, how can we stop
someone
this?
says, how can I replace my phone with people?
I mean, you probably can't. You can if you just drop your phone. But, I mean, like I was saying, that the apps, I think Mauli... What was his name? Mauli, sorry. Makafui, sorry, my bad. He talked about a couple of apps. There are some phones out there. The Palm phone, it actually puts only the bare essentials, your text ability, text message and call. That's pretty much it. But when it comes to your children, screen time on iPhone, I know you can control your children's devices. So I feel like with your children, you can use these apps to safeguard them. But when it comes to adults, as all parts of adulting it is a personal choice. You have to discipline yourself.
I know, my friend of mine told me a solution he came up with. He found himself with his phone everywhere. And like Notte mentioned, the convenience of being able to carry it. So he replaced his smartphone with a tablet. And not just any tablet, a huge tablet. So it wasn't convenient
to carry it around.
Imagine he's sitting at the table having dinner. Previously, he could have his phone. Now he has to carry a whole tablet. You won't find space on that dinner table to fit that tablet, so you have to put it away. And then by so doing, he just had a yam that he used, and then all his social media, everything was on a tablet. So he found, a solution, an easy way, as it may seem, to get away from it. So
what if you ate the dinner on the tablet?
Wow.
But I'm thinking about it. Anyway.
And I think it's time that the device manufacturers, retailers, the telecom companies, and even regulators should be thinking about lifestyle usage and its effects of the effects of devices on people's lifestyle and the addiction level. Because they are talking policy, they are only talking data monitoring and data protection and the rest, but they are not talking about the lifestyle aspect of it, the addiction aspect of it, because at least we've been using mobile phones for some time now as a country. Regulators should be discussing what we are talking about. They should be thinking about bringing the stakeholders together and making sure that we don't create a caricature of phone users a decade to come. That people be walking, crossing the road with their heads bent now. The people driving cars and crossing traffic light because they are on their phones, and a lot of accidents. We need to look at the culture of using mobile phones and educate people.
The culture, I know we're out of time, but the culture and the socialization, maybe we need another program. You see, when you have presidents tweeting and all this stuff, right? You've gone, I mean, even before a budget, somebody is saying something, right? So we've got to look at the culture where you don't belong when you don't do these things. You can have a president who doesn't tweet and somebody thinks that's not cool.
It's
right?
not cool.
So there's peer pressure. There's so many other things in this that we haven't looked at. And then let me also hype and say this again. If you're going to sit at table and call stakeholders, and the stakeholders have other stakes, please be wary of who you are sitting with,
of course,
because they know what they want.
Right. We bring the show to a close. My name is Kobe Spiking Chroma. The show has been Geek Squad. We'll catch you again next week, and have a good one.